From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Sportsline.
And there's Titans Talk on your television. Steve Layman here with you on Victory Monday. 5th straight week that the Titans celebrate a victory. They are now 7-2 at the real midway point of the NFL season. 9 games down, 8 more games to go. The Titans are on top of the AFC. 3 games up in the AFC South, but with the stranglehold right now on the #1 overall seed and the potential first-round bye in the AFC because of this record. And last night's win in Los Angeles was the type of win that really turned some people's heads because everybody knew about Derrick Henry, and while they don't give him enough credit, people know about Ryan Tannehill, and you know about A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and what this offense has the potential to be and what it has already been over the past couple of seasons. But last night, without Derrick Henry, who's out with a broken foot, the way the Titans dominated that game against a really good Rams team with an explosive offense without Derrick Henry was really impressive. It was the defense that got the job done for the Titans. Jeff Simmons, Danico Autry, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, those guys wreaked havoc up front against the Rams. They got in Matthew Stafford's face all night long, and the coverage confused him. The turnovers came. The guys on the back end held up. It was an all-out defensive onslaught against the Rams, and the Titans were able to win 28-16. Again, their 5th consecutive win, and it caps a gauntlet of a month in which the Titans beat 4 consecutive playoff teams from a year ago. The Bills, the Chiefs, at Indianapolis, and at Los Angeles. Just like that. They become the 4th team in the last 15 years to win 4 consecutive games against playoff teams from last year. And oh, by the way, the previous 3 all went to the Super Bowl. That's the type of month the Titans had. Now, there's a long way to go. There's a whole second half of the season. Derrick Henry is out. But what the Titans have demonstrated over this past month is they are playing high caliber football. They are playing the type of football that can win in January against teams that you expect to be there in January. And they found different ways to get it done. Against the Bills, it was really the offense that kept up to pace. It was Derrick Henry running and churning out yards against that Bills defense. It was A.J. Brown rising up in the second half of that game. Against the Chiefs, it was an explosive start from the offense. They were on fire early, and the defense thoroughly throughout suffocated Patrick Mahomes and that normally high-powered Chiefs offense. In Indianapolis, it was a game they had to overcome adversity. They were down 14-0. They gave up a score late, had to go to overtime, and they found a way to win and get it done. And then last night in Los Angeles, shorthanded, not just without Derrick Henry, but without Taylor Lewan at left tackle, without Nate Davis at right guard, with other guys out of the lineup with ailments. This team goes on the road and beats one of the NFC's best teams in their building. And they did it in convincing fashion. 2 interceptions in the first half led to 2 touchdowns in the span of 11 seconds. David Long's pick setting the Titans up at the 2. Ryan Tannehill, it's Jeff Swaim, wide open for a touchdown on the next play. And then the very next play from scrimmage, Kevin Byard with a pick 6 on Matthew Stafford. And the Titans went from down 3-0 to up 14-3 in the span legitimately of 20 seconds. From the Rams having the ball with the lead to the Titans up by 2 scores. That's what swung the game. But the defense continued to get after Stafford. 5 sacks last night, a season high for them. They bothered him a whole lot more than that. The Titans offense with a couple of gutsy 4th down conversions on their one sustained drive of the first half. Ryan Tannehill runs it in on 4th and goal from the 1 to make it 21-3. And they take advantage of an opportunity in the 4th quarter to put the game away. and go on to win 28-16. It was one of the most impressive performances I remember from the Titans in covering this team for 11 seasons now. Given everything against them, the stage it was on, the opponent they were playing, for them to go into LA and do that makes you sit back and take notice, for sure. And it made people take notice around the league and around the league media today. Because here's what's been different in the last 22, 21 hours since that game ended last night. Normally, when the Titans win a big game like that, and we've seen that just in the last few weeks, so often it's about, oh, what was wrong with the Bills last night? They were the AFC favorite. What happened against the Titans? Why did Josh Allen not play better? Or what's wrong with the Chiefs' offense? Why is Patrick Mahomes and that offense not in sync yet? Or, oh, what are the problems with Carson Wentz in Indianapolis? It hasn't been about the Titans. It's been largely about the opponent and their shortcomings. Well, you know what last night did? It sort of said, hey, maybe there's a growing trend here that when some of these good teams have problems, the thing that is the consistent in the equation is the fact that the Titans are the opponent. And the Titans are doing that to these good teams. And last night when they did it for the fourth consecutive week, the second straight week on the road, I think everybody in the league had to step back and say, oh boy, look at the Titans. They look like the AFC's best team right now. And look, the Bills are going to be there at the end of the day. The Ravens look good. They came back from a big deficit yesterday to win in overtime against the Vikings. The Chiefs got a win yesterday against the Packers. That's 2 in a row. Maybe that offense, although it doesn't look like it yet, maybe they get going in the second half of the season. I don't think you'd ever want to count Patrick Mahomes out in a postseason game. It's not going to be easy. The Titans aren't going to run away with this by any means. But which of those teams scare you? Which of those teams worry you if you're the Titans? That, I don't think, has to be an issue here. Since Mike Vrabel took over in 2018, the Titans are 16-4 against teams that were in the playoffs the year before. 16-4. They are 6-0 this season, 4-0 in the past 4 weeks. The only other 3 teams in the last decade and a half that have beaten 4 consecutive playoff teams, all not just went to the playoffs themselves, they advanced to the Super Bowl. 2 of them won the whole thing. Maybe a good omen for the Titans, but certainly the way they continue to find ways to win and do it in different ways is a great sign. Now, they're going to have to play better offensively, and you hope that the running backs who got shuffled in and out last night, you hope as they get more used to their roles, whether that be by committee or whether it's Adrian Peterson or someone else who takes hold as the real bell cow back for this team, you hope that the running game can pick itself back up and give you some of the production it had with Derrick Henry as the running back. I mean, last night the Titans won with just 69 yards rushing. That's the fewest yards they've run for in a victory since 2012, 9 years. And this has been a team that has been about running the football in recent years, and it's because of Derrick Henry in large part. Well, he's going to be out for a while, so they're going to have to figure out a way with the guys who were on the field last night to get some kind of consistent production out of the running game. They need the offensive line to block better, so they need the offensive line to get back healthy. They need A.J. Brown and Julio Jones to finally, on the same night, look like the guys that they're capable of being at the same time together. The injuries and the inconsistency have hurt them in that regard this year. Even last night, A.J. Brown with a couple of huge drops that ended drives for the Titans. Those things have to disappear, and I think you trust that they will. But the offense has to play better to this point of the season, the offense has not lived up to being a historically great offense like many people thought it could be coming into the season. But you know what's made up for that? A defense that is much, much better than anybody thought it could be coming into the year. Remember last year, this was a defense that was bottom 4 or 5 in the league in just about every category. Could not get off the field on third down. It could not rush the passer at all. Gave up a ton of points. It gave up a ton of yards. The only thing that saved it last year was the turnovers. Well, the Titans are still getting those turnovers in this 5-game winning streak for sure. But now all of a sudden, the red zone defense has been stout. They are holding these teams, even when they do get drives, to field goals. And in the NFL these days, you hold a team to a field goal, that's a win. And the Titans are doing that right now. And they're getting after the passer. 5 sacks last night, 16 sacks in the last 5 games. And how's this for a comparison to last year? In a 16-game regular season a year ago, the Titans managed a total of 19.5 sacks. Through 9 games this year, the team's 3 best pass rushers, Harold Landry, who has 9 by himself, Jeffrey Simmons, who had 3 in the first half last night, and Danico Autry, have combined for 19 sacks through 9 games. Just more than half the games that they played last year, they're only a half sack less than what they did for the entire season. This is a Titans defense that has found a pass rush. And with that pass rush, they found a whole bunch of turnovers because quarterbacks have been uncomfortable against them. The other thing they've been able to do is they've been able to generate it with those guys that I just talked about, the guys who are the pass rushers. This hasn't had to come with blitzing. It hasn't had to come with taking guys out of coverage. It has come from the front 4, which means you drop guys in coverage. You can confuse coverages and disguise coverages that make it difficult for the quarterback to read what the defense is doing. And the Titans have capitalized on that over and over here in recent weeks. This is a defense that is playing at a much higher level than it did a year ago, at a much higher level than it played in September, frankly. And because of that, the Titans are where they are right now. The offense has to pick it up because you cannot win with 194 yards like they had last night. It's hard to win if you only have 2 real scoring drives in the course of the game. Remember, one of the touchdowns last night is a pick 6. The other one is a 2-yard, 1-play drive after an interception set them up at the Rams 2. You can't win with 14 points essentially from your offense. So the offense has to pick it up. But what has enormously helped this team is the fact that the defense has taken its game to a totally different level this year. And that is why they're in the position they are in, where they can gun for the top seed in the AFC down the stretch of this season. And oh, by the way, that gauntlet that they just went through and the first half of the season in which they had the toughest schedule in the NFL through 9 weeks. The Titans now head to the second half of the schedule. And while they've got another playoff team from last year coming in this week in the Saints, and then 2 more games before finally having their bye week, 12 games into the season, the Titans' second half schedule rates as the easiest in the NFL. So they're 7-2 heading into that stretch of games. Very much in the running for that top seed in the AFC. And the ability to have not just a bye in the first weekend and sit out wild card weekend, maybe give Derrick Henry an extra week to get back healthy, but also the chance to play at home in the divisional round and in the AFC Championship. That is the position that the Titans have put themselves in, and they've earned it. Done it the hard way in the last few weeks. But man, was last night's game impressive. What were your thoughts on the performance last night? How the Titans defense rose to the occasion? What you saw from the running game without Derrick Henry? and just the way the Titans rallied the troops and got another big win as they finished that gauntlet and now sit here at 7-2. Our phone lines are open, 737-7767. Love to hear from you tonight. You're watching Titans Talk on News Channel 5+.